Hello folks and welcome to Tippcast with myself, Shane Stapleton, Shane Brophy, Head of Sport and League Guardian is here, and also Paul Carroll from Tip FM. Lads, how are we doing?
Good, Shane.
Shane, we'll start off with you. A big weekend in Tipperary Club GAA. No place to start other than an North final and Kiladangan getting the job done against Toom. Now it was tight though, and maybe the big game experience was key.
It was a really enjoyable North final day in Nina with the Premier Intermediate final. Two good games, two competitive games. Like, I think for anybody who paid in for the both games, like, really got their money's worth. The senior final, I thought it was a really super contest the whole way through. Like, I not more than I expected. I expected it to be tight, and like the closer to the finish that we got, the quality went up and up. Like, some of the scores, I don't know if you see the end of the last 10 minutes, like, it was when we went score for score. Like, some of the quality was tremendous on both sides. And I suppose, you mentioned that experience, like in injury time, Billy Seymour, a brilliant catch. Like, he had an outstanding game. He's had an outstanding championship so far. And look, a guy that you can see he has that year of in with Tip. You can see he's sort of a step ahead of everyone else at the moment. And even looking ahead to next year, you'd love to see a guy like Billy, and maybe you're sold. Billy, you're starting the first three games of the league. Even if you're bad in the first game, you're starting the second. You know the way because he has that physical presence about him, and he can hit a long range free as well. So he got the ball, a brilliant flick into Brian Mallochny, who for 55 minutes you didn't even know he was on the field. And then 5 minutes he lands a classy point and finishes. You can see why they leave him on the field when maybe he's struggling a bit, because he has that ability. He's probably their most natural forward. Like, he knows where the posts are, and tough on Toom. Like, they'll have regrets. There's no doubt about it. Like, it was a game they could have won, maybe should have won, but there's no doubt they're still moving in the right direction. Like, they're a team that look like they still have more to go over the next few years. But in terms of a North final, it was really, really enjoyable.
Yeah, David Hogan says best North final in years, was extremely raw, lots of good hurling. Both teams went at each other's throats and gave no quarter. What do you think, Paul?
Yeah, it was some game, and in fairness to Jerry Tracy, he kind of let the game go. Maybe at times it got a bit too much, but he kind of lended its hand to a really good, exciting game of hurling. And as Shane was saying there, that Billy Seymour catch for the Brian Mallochny goal was something else. Billy Seymour was really good throughout the day. I thought at one stage he'd actually had a bad injury. He went over his ankle and kind of looked in a bad way on the ground, and after that, he got up and he wasn't able to strike the ball as clean. He missed a few frees. I don't think he was able to step into the frees anymore after that. So that was looking bad for Kiladangan at that stage, because Toom were 2-3 points in the lead. And, I suppose that experience for Kiladangan came through in the end. And that catch was unbelievable. And the flick inside for Brian Mallochny, who spotted it straight away, that two Toom lads had kind of gone up for the one ball. And Billy came down with it, and he cut inside and finished it well. But I think Toom will be disappointed, because they were well good enough to win that game. They'll probably rue one or two chances. One comes to mind where Darren McCarthy broke through, and I'd say he must have thought he had advantage or something. He broke through a couple of tackles and was in on goals, and tried to kick the ball and kind of just sliced it off wide. He had his hurley in his hand, but maybe he was being pulled back or something. But that was a big chance missing for Toom.
Yeah, I actually watched that again. I thought to myself, God, why didn't he shoot off his weak side? But actually, he had the hurling the ball in the wrong hand. However way he got it. I only watched it back in the replay that he had it. I suppose at the one time he needed the ball and the hurl to be in the right hand, he wasn't. And I suppose maybe he just didn't have the time to try and rectify it, and ended up kicking and it skied wide. Like, that was a huge chance. I think if a goal was in there, they go 5 up, and with about 8 minutes of normal time left. So
because you were thinking
it was a massive moment in the game.
Yeah, you were thinking maybe he didn't have a hurley, and then after you saw he did have the hurley, so I was wondering what the story was there. But he had a brilliant game. Like, he's still only 18, I think, at the minute. And he was one of the best players on the field by far. And even for the goal, he was. It looked like maybe he had fouled David Sweeney when the ball was coming in. He kind of broke it down in front of him. He won it. He got fouled extremely hard on the 21, but again, Jerry Tracy played the advantage, and Darren McCarthy was so quick to it. His game IQ is so high for his age, and flicked a lovely ball into Jack Delaney, who really composed, finished it into the back of the net. But I thought maybe in the last few minutes, some of the Toom lads looked very tired. It had been a real hard physical game. At one stage, Josh McCarthy was blocked down by Willie Connors, and he just didn't have it in the legs to get a block in on Willie himself. So they moved him in full back, and I'd say he was just kind of gassed out, or maybe he was carrying an injury. I'm not sure, but the next ball that went in, Andy Lucknan was in a bit of space, and that fired Kiladangan back into the lead. So just little things like that when it comes to a final are the difference, and Kiladangan are just that little bit more experienced. But it's a really good Toom team, and they're definitely, as Shane said, going in the right direction.
Yeah, David Hogan's back in with another comment. The roof nearly came off the place after Jack Delaney's goal. Darren Mack got fouled heavily 2 or 3 times in the run-up. It still pops to him. Great stuff. Jack Delaney's own Cody-esque point wasn't so bad either, Shane.
No, he's there's no doubt about it. He has all the skills. Like it was a brilliant score. Like it, I think it was surrounded by about three players in the first half. I suppose he's one we've probably been saying for years. Like would he be good enough for Tip? But nobody's ever taken a chance on him. Whether he still has the obviously maybe some managements are not keen, and sometimes he can drift in and out of games. But look, as a finisher, he's very, very good. So he finished with 1-1. Like I said, Darren McCarthy was outstanding, and I suppose the one thing I love about McCarthy, he loves the physicality. He absolutely the harder the challenges that come from opponents, the better he gets, and he's not afraid to mix it up either. Like, and I think did he get a yellow card? It was sort of a wild pull, a bit of a wild pull on Alan Flynn, like, and Scasta in the first half, and then they went into back more. They more or less laughed it off, the two of them, and they went back into mark each other again. So you love that bit of confrontation, a bit of an edge to the game. Once it's fair, and once lads know that it's all about playing the ball, like it's he was good. I just thought I suppose Toom probably needed a bit more from Mark McCarthy. I thought the positioning of Kevin McCarthy in the full forward line, I don't think it gets the best out of him. I can see why they're doing it, because for a guy, he's not big in stature, he's a very, very good ball winner, but there wasn't an awful lot of quality ball going in for him to hold up and bring others into the play. I think he's better maybe around centre forward, where he can drift into possession and I suppose play the style of hurling maybe they want to play, because there was times in the first set you could see what they were trying to do. Not, I wouldn't say hand pass the ball or working through the lines, but they're definitely trying to use the short pass as much as possible. But Kiladangan were ready for it. Like the amount of times they cut out dinked passes in the first half, and I think 2, if not 3 points, and for Kiladangan's points came from those things. So the two probably did go more direct in the second half, and it certainly benefited them. They went 4 points up at one stage, but just shows that champions mentality Kiladangan now have, that even under I wouldn't say bleak, but even under the greatest of pressure, they're able to respond, and great points towards the end, which with Declan McGrath got a great point, Brian Mallochny. Like that was a win without Sean Hayes as well. Like Sean out with an ankle injury, and I think that's the big thing for Kiladangan now, is that having won the North, if they have that preliminary quarter final now, if and it looks like Sean was in one of those moon boots, I'd say he's probably going to miss at least the group stages of the county, I would have thought, if it's some kind of an ankle injury. So like even if Kiladangan maybe are under pressure to qualify, they had that preliminary quarter final spot, and they'll be hoping, hopefully Sean will be back by then.
Sometimes it takes an edge off a team going in, knowing they have that preliminary quarter final already. But Paul, I was looking at back over the semi-final against Templederry, and early in the first few seconds there was a goal for Paul Flynn, and it started from an Alan Flynn burst up the centre. And then the goal chance that was brilliantly saved by Rory Breslan came from Alan Flynn bursting up through the centre again and linking up with his brother. I mean, the threat that they have from deep is going to be difficult for any team to stop this year.
Yeah, I thought Alan Flynn was really good the other day. He's just, anytime he's coming out getting fouled or anything like that, as he's bursting through, he just kind of puts the ball down and runs back. Like there's no real afters or anything like that. Willie Connors, I thought, was really good as well. So they have a really strong half back line, and Joe Gallagher was back there as well. I don't know if they're going to do what they had last year and have Decky McGrath back there again or not, but they have those runners, as you're saying, like Ty Gallagher still has that burst of speed to get away.
Joe was really old school in the game, wasn't he? Anything high ball, he pulled on it in the air. Like, you don't see much of that anymore. That was real. And like it was very effective.
Yeah, and I thought, I thought like Ty's running is so effective. But that save that you mentioned was unbelievable because Paul Flynn actually done everything right. Like he lettered it low into the corner, but Rory Breslan saved it down to his right-hand side, and he's been kind of nursing a back injury the last few weeks. And if you're at the games, you wouldn't notice at all because his puck out is an absolute monster of a puck out. So overall, it was a really high-quality game, like two really good sides, and who knows, that it might be the last time to meet each other this year.
And Shane, we know that Kiladangan are going to be in the hunt for a county title, or certainly be looking to retain it. Hurling 1, 2, 3, 4 is wondering, should Toon be aiming to win a county championship, or is that unrealistic?
I think they should, because I don't think there's an outstanding team in the county championship. Like there's no Ballygunner, there's no Kilcormac Cloughey, there's no team you could say is far ahead of everyone else. So like I think Toom have the potential to do it. I think Toom need to. I think for Toom to do it, they need to have everything working right on the day. Like strangely enough, I think Toom's panel is slightly deeper than Kiladangan's. Like Toom had to use 4 or 5 subs. I think they have a bit of depth. Adam Hall came off the bench like he did last year, got a cracking point. I'll just get the match program here. Like he did. I remember against Clonarty, he came on, was the match winner. David Nolan came on there, and Delaney, Jake Hackett is a fine young hurler. So I think they have depth. If they can get maybe Mark McCarthy, Colin Canning, just have a couple of those games where they contribute more handsomely to the scoreboard. I don't see why not, because I still think, I was out for a walk the other night and I was thinking, who can win this championship? And while I would have Kiladangan as favourites, there's no outstanding team. I think Lochmore are there, Thurles, but you couldn't rule out anyone. I think it's at the moment. It's there's no reason why a team can't get hot like Kilrowan did a couple of years ago and go and win it. Like that's the sort of a level of a champion. There's no reason why Toom can't do the very same.
Yeah. Would you agree, Paul?
Oh, 100%. And like, Toom got to the semi-final last year and were beaten by Kiladangan. And I remember that game, David Sweeney made a block on a certain goal late on, and if that went in, it could have been a different game. So they'll have fierce belief. They'll be disappointed after that, because that was their first time back in a North final in 11 years, I think it was, or 12 years. But I still think they'll take a lot of confidence. It's still a young team. Like the Ryans in the defence, like Liam Ryan gone out to centre back, I thought was really good the other day. They have a young panel, and as Shane said, a deep enough panel. Like Adam Hall coming off the bench, there's not as too many kind of players of that standard on benches around Tipperary. So I know they'll be definitely thereabouts. I don't have their county championship group off the top of my head. Drum, Killer One, and Laura. Like so.
No, they're Bursley first up. So on Saturday week. So.
Oh, do I have it?
Yeah, Drum, Killer One, and Bursley. Yeah, Laura were meant to be in it.
That was the original group. Yeah.
Handy group, Shane, by the way.
Lots of nice, tasty derbies. Will you be booking in for Shea Stapleton that Saturday evening?
Yeah.
Or Dublin Championship could be back up and running, maybe.
I'll hope to get down for that one. We'll move on to the North Premier Intermediate final. So Burgess 21 points, Silvermines 19. That was a great way to get the job done late on, Paul.
Yeah, God, we definitely needed it. I suppose last year in the North final, we kind of, I think it was kind of a 15-minute period where we just were not playing well at all, and Laura came in for 3 or 4 goals, and so coming into this North final, we probably a little bit nervous that we kind of had to get the job done this year, and we knew it was going to be a really tight game. We played the Mines twice last year, and it was something similar. I think it could have even been the same scoreline in one of the games we played last year. So it was tight the whole way. For long periods, I wasn't too confident looking in from the sideline. 2 points down going into injury time, and they lift up the 5 minutes for injury time, and just those last kind of 5 minutes, some of the lads like really stepped up. Stephen Corwin, I think he won every ball that came near him, particularly in those 5 minutes, and got some great scores. Danny Ryan got a brilliant point late on, and Micheál Ryan roared into the game late on as well. So it was a massive win for us, but Joe really had to work for it. It's a really young Silvermines team. Like some of the lads on that team, are still in school and things like that. Like Sean Danny Quinn starting up full forward. If you were just to look at him, you'd never guess he was playing for the Hardy Cup team this year. He's a massive man in at full forward. But yeah, no, it was a serious win for ourselves. We kind of had some great performances around the field. Like Aidan O'Dwyer come in there at corner back just before half time. Wouldn't have had too much hurling done in the last month. Been away traveling and things like that. But he was brilliant throughout the game. And Kieran Grace, I thought in midfield as well, was particularly good. And Stephen Murray, which we've come to expect in Burgess, was brilliant again. So Bill Fly, I thought when he came on as well, made a big difference as well. But yeah, no, delighted with it. We kind of really needed it, and it'll give the club a great boost.
Shane, Burgess will look at this, Silvermines will look at this as a big missed opportunity.
Yeah, I suppose when you're 2 points up going into injury time, you think you're in a great spot. You're thinking when Jason flights over that sideline cut, like she's just a beauty. Like you could one of those sweet ones where it starts outside the post and it just curl, just scores like 14 points, 6 from play and a sideline cut. Like he was just tremendous. And like I know Stephen Kerwin got the official man of the match. I couldn't look past Jason for me because like he was doing all that with Johnny Mulqueen more or less stuck to him. And like Paul knows that Johnny Mulqueen probably is pound for pound one of the best defenders in the Premier Intermediate, maybe in our Tipperary, even in senior. Like he's just so tight, and he was still able to influence the game as Jason at centre forward as much as he did. So, and like especially Conor McKelvey, 4 points in play. I thought they used him very effectively. He more or less played out a wing forward under the puck out, but as soon as play developed, he went into full forward. And he was always there as an outlet ball, and he was probably unlucky not to get a penalty before half time. I think everybody was expecting Christy McLaughlin to blow the whistle for a penalty when he caught the ball, and it looked like he was fouled, and he ended up kicking the ball wide. But the ref decided no, there was no infringement there. So I thought he was really good. I suppose look, when Silvermines look back on it, they only had 3 scorers in the game. Danny Quinn, the first point of the match, it was Ford, McKelvey and Quinn. Like probably that they're probably looking at and think, okay, we just need a bit more from others. But like taking nothing away from Burgess, like just the manner of the win, like after losing last year's final, you think, God, in injury time again, this is going to happen again. And as Paul said, like Stephen Kerwin's sort of the 5-minute final, really. Everything, nearly every ball that came down his way after they went 2 points down, he either won it and laid it on for somebody else, or he scored it. And I think he had another opportunity that came back off the post. Like so, so look, he had a massive influence, and like he's another that was on the underage scene for Tip. Probably didn't really break through, but I thought he was a little bit light, but he's definitely after building himself up physically. And he's another that I think maybe he could be another late bloomer in terms of maybe bringing a guy maybe into a development setup. He's only got 21, 22, Paul.
Stephen Curran, he's probably about 23.
Like he still has time on his side, like so. But then you look at the spread of scores, like Danny Ryan, another 2 points after his impressive showing against Ballina. Kieran Grace, Micheál Ryan had a big finish, and of course Stephen Murray does what he does. Like so, just in terms of, I think it's just going to be a massive boost in confidence for Burgess. Just like that's 2 games in a row this year. They've come from behind late on to win, so they have the fitness. They now have the belief. I suppose from their point of view, they just don't want to be putting themselves in losing positions. But someday you're just not going to be caught, like, or you're someday you just won't be able to come back, like. And I suppose they have having that no more than having the experience of it last year, like where the Premier Intermediate is so tight. I don't think any of the 16 teams confidently say they're going to get out of their group. So Burgess having that preliminary quarterfinal slot tied up is a huge thing for them as well.
Yeah, Paul, just how are the two teams set up now for this county championship? And I know I made the point already, but like, some teams go in half cooked into the group stages when they already have that preliminary in the back pocket?
Yeah, it's hard to tell. Like, as great as it is to have that, as Shane was saying, it's so competitive that if you take your eye off the ball, you'll be in a relegation battle as quick as you're in a preliminary quarterfinal. So we've Kiladangan up first in Friday week, like, so that won't be simple. And I saw Bubbles O'Dwyer was back for them in the second half against Carrick-Swan the other day as well. So they'll be strong, St. Mary's and Sean Tracy's as well. And for the Silvermines, like, they're in I think their group might be one of the hardest. They're in with Ballina, Carrick-Swan and Upperchurch. So you just can't make any mistakes. You can't afford really to come in half cooked into the Seamus O'Reen group stages, and we know that ourselves from the last 2 years. Like, tis not simple at all. But just on the game the other day, I was standing, I'd say, about 2 foot away from that Jason Ford sideline, and when he was coming over to take it, one of the lads was even saying, like, this is very much in his range. Like, we had perfect view of it, and from that puck out, then it went down the field and came back, and Conor McKelvey got that point to go 2 up, and then our puck out went to Stephen Kerwin, who slipped and it went out over the sideline, and it was the 60th minute. It was really not going our way at that stage, so I was very fearful, but I know the lads roared back into it. But there was also a scary moment there for Jason Ford about 5 minutes in, trying to keep a puck out in play. He ran out over the sideline and just hopped the Fort officials' table and leathered into the open gate there in McDonough Park. And he was very lucky he wasn't seriously injured, because it was one of those ones where you're looking at it and everyone's kind of like gasping. But he was unreal. As Shane was saying, Johnny McQueen was tight to him throughout. But he's one of those players that even when he's playing with Tip, like, there's always people kind of on him when he's striking the ball. But his strike is so quick that it's almost impossible to hook him or block him down. But he was unbelievable. But as I was saying, looking forward to the county championship now, and it's impossible to call that Seamus O'Reen. Yeah,
and sometimes freak incidents, you can get injured like that. Sure, Barry Heffernan over wasn't it a water bottle on the sideline? Did the crucial as well. The North Intermediate final, then Moneygall had a fairly convincing win over Portrue, and after the huge scoreline they'd put up in the semi-final, maybe it's not a total shock, but when you've got a couple of county panellists in there in that forward line, Joe Fogarty, he got 1-4 from play, Sean Kennelly got 5. So were you in any way surprised by that scoreline, Shane?
I wasn't surprised Moneygall won. I was surprised by the margin of it. I thought Portrue would be a little bit closer. But yeah, Moneygall they're pouring at the moment. Like, I think whoever beats Moneygall will win the county championship. I just think they're that strong. I say Kennelly and Fogarty. I know Fogarty was let go after league, but he had that winter he had that winter training with Tip. Like, having 2 guys on a senior panel at that level now on your team, like, it's so hard. Like, you had Michael Breen, who I think he's a very, very good defender for Portrue. Mark and Kennelly in the first half was under pressure, did as well as he could, but they had to make a change, and then move Robert Byrne onto him in the second half, but then you're trying to keep Joe Fogarty quiet. Like, it's just, you pick your poison, really. Like, so like, Willie Green is over Moneygall this year, a great stalwart for years, playing with him, a classy forward, and getting Dan Hackett in as coach, I think it could be the missing piece of the jigsaw. Like, we all remember Dan played for Kiladangan at centre back. He's so passionate. He gets that team ethic. That will to win. Like, he never back down from a challenge. I just think that mindset could be the difference to get them over the line. Like, and they have some fine young players there, like the likes of Andy Hoolan, who got the goal for the CBS. Like, he's on the team this year. So, like, there's real depth to their squad there now. Niall Maher came off the bench and got a point. Like, they're really moving nicely. It's early days, but like I think Kilsheelan, probably when Mark Keogh comes back from America, will be there or thereabouts. But like, I think if it'll take a very, very good team not to to stop Moneygall. Like, and it only takes one. When you get to the knockout stages, it only takes one maybe subpar performance or maybe an inspired performance from an opponent for a favour to go down. But like they're really going well at the moment.
And Shane, like, contrast their team now with that you beat 2 years ago in the intermediate final. And I know Joe Fogarty was carrying an injury that day. Maybe you did know that, maybe you didn't. But like, they really have injected the team with youth compared with then.
Yeah, they're just. I think they're just more experienced. They've been building. I know it's a new management team this year, but even under Paul O'Brien the last few years, you could see incrementally they were getting better year on year, and like they were very, very good against us in the county final. Like, I suppose if you look at the start, we got 2 goals in the first 2 or 3 minutes, and that was. After that, it was nearly score for score the whole way. It's just that buffer was there the whole time. So look, I just think they're like, you have Sean Kennelly, who's bigger and stronger and more confident now. Joe Fogarty's probably 23, 24. Sean Fogarty, I think they're hitting the sweet spot now. And I suppose they won't want us to be overhyping them too much, but like, I think that they only lost to Boherlahan last year in a semi-final after extra time in a foul weather in Temple Toohey, like, so like they were that close last year, like, and I thought Boherlahan were a good bit the best team in the county last year, and like Moneygall were only a point short, like, so in the end. So like, if they can keep everyone fit, and I think they'll be hard to beat.
So don't hype them up, but the route to the intermediate title goes through Moneygall, says Shane. So you're doing a bit of both there. Paul, what did you make of them and Portrue just 5 points from playing the entire game?
Yeah, I thought it would be closer, and the game was kind of going how I was expecting the first 10-12 minutes. Like, Port were in the lead up to the 12th minute of the game and making it difficult for Moneygall, and then Tig White and Bob Kenny just worked a brilliant goal on the 12th minute, and that kind of put Moneygall out in the lead, and Port kind of struggled to keep up with them for scores after that, and the Joe Fogarty goal before half time kind of finished it off. That put them up by 9, and the second half would just kind of continue at that kind of pace. But yeah, Port, Jack Maloney up full forward had been really good the last few days, but he was kind of isolated. Like, he was winning ball that was going in, but there was often 2 or 3 Moneygall lads around him at times as well. So it was just a struggle. But as it's been said before, like, they're missing AJ Willis, Ron Maroney, and Kevin O'Halloran. Like, they're 3 of their best forwards. You take 3 best forwards out of any team, and you're going to be struggling. But yeah, Moneygall look really strong this year. As Shane said, like, the route to the county championship, it kind of has to go through Moneygall. That's how it's gone the last 2 years. They're beaten in the final and beaten by the eventual winners in the last 2 years. And that game last year against Boherlahan probably shouldn't have been played in the conditions it was played in. It wasn't really a hurling match at all. Like, but no, Shawnee Kennelly, Joe Fogarty, I thought Tig White was really good the other day. Cathal Green at the back, like, they've the 2 midfielders, Adam Hogan and Aidan Ryan, very strong as well. So, and they actually look a stronger, fitter team than they have in recent years. Like, they're not really kind of carrying anyone at all. So I looked at, they've been really impressive.
The black shorts don't they look a bit more imposing now. Just a subtle thing of just a subtle change in how they're kitted out. I just they look I think it's all psychological, and maybe in some ways I found it interesting. I don't know, did actually anybody, Shane, I'll ask you, did anybody actually ask Brian Lohan before the Kilkenny why did they wear blue when they didn't have to? And the same with Kieran McGeeney wearing black. I assume it was the psychological reasons.
I didn't go down for the press conference on that game. I was there, all right, but I wonder, is it because they'd beaten them twice that year and beat them in the league final?
I assume that's it, but I because like there's something tradition about wearing your primary colours, but there's no. Well, I suppose once you notify Croke Park in advance, you're going to be wearing a certain colour. There's no regulation against it.
Will we move on to the mid-final then? Lough beat Moycarkey Burris. That was 125 to 116. But Moycarkey were ahead 115 to 17. Then penalty given away. Tom Ryan was sent off on a second yellow card, buried to the top corner. Jack Fallon's goal from Moycarkey Burris. That finished in the top corner, unbelievable. But like the scoreline suggests it was comfortable by 9 points, Paul, but that isn't the reality at all.
No, like I think Loughmore only took the lead on the 50th minute or 51st minute when John McGrath scored that penalty. So, like as you look at the final score, it looks one-sided, but that's not really how the game played out. But that's kind of how Loughmore's games have been going this year. The last kind of 10 minutes is when they really get going, but it'll be hard to kind of win a more difficult mid-final than they've come through with beating Thurles and beating Drummond Inch and then Moycarkey in the final. But yeah, that was the turning point, that kind of Tom Ryan foul on, I'm not sure which one of the McGraths it was running through, but it was John McGrath anyway, but buried the penalty past Reece Shelley. But yeah, like Moycarkey are going to be competitive again this year. Missing Joe Egan, he's carrying an injury at the minute. Moycarkey were the other day, but Noah McGrath in the middle of the field was... We've all seen performances from Noah McGrath like that, where it's just every time he gets the ball, it's the right thing. It's a brilliant pass or it's a great score from distance. And he was brilliant. But Loughmore, they're a really experienced team, and they've really experienced management team now as well with Eamon Kelly. Like, I don't think those players have been playing together so long that, being down a couple of points late on in a game, it's nothing to them. And Liam McGrath there as well in the fours. But Kieran McCormack, I thought, has improved this year. He's kind of put on a bit of size, and he scored 2 really good sidelines in the game as well. But just their whole team, it's such a settled Loughmore team, so experienced, and as always, they're going to be hard bet in the county championship.
Yeah, Shane.
Yeah, we have them first up on Friday week, so we got to have a go at them. But yeah, no, I've watched, I suppose.
And Shane, just to mention as well, the game's been moved to the Friday night because it clashes with the Camogie.
Yeah. It was just confirmed between the two of us last night. We were it's been brought forward to the Friday night in Nina because it was originally scheduled for 3:45, smack bang in the middle of the Camogie semi-final in Kilkenny. And look, we have two families with two sisters involved from our side, Celine Guinan and Claudia McIntyre. Celine plays for Shannon Rovers, but her brother Dara plays for Laura, and her mother's a secretary. And sure, every Loughmore player has a sister or a cousin between the Tracys and the Campions and the McGraths and Evestons and that Tip Camogie team. So look, we had no choice, and it wouldn't have been right to try and play a senior men's match opposite that huge game for the girls in Kilkenny. So yeah, it'll be Nina. I'm not sure whether it's 7 or 7:30, but it's been brought forward anyway. So yeah, but back to Loughmore, they're going nicely. I say I've been watching them closely the last few weeks. Look very, very fit this year. Not that we haven't been fit any other years, but I see Paul Tracy's involved with them this year. Paul was with Mona Lean 2 years ago. He was with Borland last year. So they look, and I suppose you see it in their 3 games. They've powered home in every one of them. They outscored. I think they got the last 6 points against Thurles in the quarterfinal. They got the last 2 or 3 points against Drum in the semi-final, and of course, what was it, 9 points to 1 or something down the stretch last week, or sorry, 1-6 to a point down the stretch last Sunday. Okay, helped by the red card, and maybe Moycarkey, maybe the heads dropped a bit after the goal went in and the red card. But look, it's a good habit to be in finishing strongly. So like it's early days in the championship, but like going into the group stages, you'd think like Loughmore would have to be really happy with themselves at the moment.
Yeah, and how good do you think Moycarkey Burris are going into the county championship, Shane?
I suppose getting to a mid-final for the first time in 22 years was a big thing for them. Like they would have been underdogs against JK Brackens in the semi-final, and they were very convincing. Like they're a physically very, very big team. Like they're they're athletic. Look, they'll be disappointed the way they finished that game, but like they're in a tough group with SARS and Mullinahone and Rossgrey. I think that first game with Rossgrey is key. Like you think whoever loses that game is under pressure then to qualify, because you would think Mullinahone and Sarsfields. Okay, but Sarsfields are the seeded team. Okay, Rossgrey they were second seeds, but it's Mullinahone, Rossgrey, and Moycarkey. I don't think there's much between any of them. So and I think it was a draw between Moycarkey and Rossgrey last year. So and of course, Eddie Brennan having previously been involved with Rossgrey as well, so that's another thing. But yeah, I think they're a team. I think they're a lot like Holy Cross for me, who maybe kicked on last year and got to a county quarter final. I think Mike Harkey are sort of in that same bracket. They have the ability, I think, to get to the knockout stages. So I think they'll be hoping to use the momentum from the mid to do that.
Yeah. Paul, I wanted to ask you then about the, Tipperary providing an update on the workings of its game development and player pathway program. Just for people who wouldn't have seen any of this, can you sort of outline what is even meant by that?
Yeah, I suppose we were local media invited down to Lorna Park there last week, and Martha Brennan and Kevin Halley and Paddy Malone and David Byrne talked us through what's going on, I suppose, in the county from under 14 to kind of under 17. And I don't know, I left Lorna Park anyway, kind of confident that the right kind of things are happening in the background in Tip GAA. And I suppose they talked a lot about how important getting in with the schools was, and the kind of emphasis they've put on that in the last couple of years, or the last kind of 4 or 5 years. And we've seen that with Cashel and Nina CBS and the Harty and Thurles were there both years as well. I don't know about you, Shane, but I left anyway feeling very kind of confident about what's going on underage. Like the kind of partnership with Setanta College seems to be just kind of growing year on year, and kind of will kind of bear the fruits of that maybe in another couple of years' time. And Kevin Halley, who's kind of the games development manager, seems to really have his ducks in a row and knows what he's at. So I was very encouraged anyway walking out of Thurles, Shane.
Yeah, no, I was the same too. And I think, I suppose there can always be this thing of when Tip go badly in a year, sure, the structures are wrong, everything is wrong. And it's only when you sit down and read the nuts and bolts and understand what's going on, you think, okay, just we need to cool the jets a small bit. Sometimes you can just have a bad year for whatever reason. But you say from underage right up to under 17, even up to under 19. With this year, for the first time we had an under 19 development squad that played games in the spring, just with keeping an eye on maybe guys that weren't good enough for an under 20 panel this year, but it would help the management for next year in terms of keeping those guys maybe on programs and stuff like that. But everyone has the role, from the games manager to the 7 GDAs. We have a hurling development officer, we have a football development officer. I suppose I think one of the notable things for me is that it's not just about upskilling the players, it's upskilling the coaches. There's 66 coaches in Tipperary working with development squads on a voluntary capacity, and now there's programs being put in place for clubs to upskill their own coaches, so that, which would mean it'll get bigger and bigger year on year. And even something as small as there's now a goalkeeping workshop that clubs could maybe contact their local GD and say, can you organise a goalkeeping workshop, which will be run by Shane Hennessy. Shane Hennessy was David Herity is the Tip goalkeeping coach, but Shane Hennessy, Nina Rogue was more or less seconded into the Tip senior setup to learn from David Herity this year under the blessing of Liam Cahill. That sort of joined up thinking that Liam Cahill was saying, okay, Shane will join our backroom team. He'll learn from David Herity. He'll see what's going on, and he'll be able to take that guidance and bring it back to the club. So I just said, and we know David Herity has his own goalkeeping coach business, I think, a way of that's. I just love that sort of thinking and upskilling the coaches, and even with the schools, we've 24 primary schools, but I think there's going to be an announcement maybe over the next few weeks that there's going to be a financial investment from the county board into the big seven. They haven't announced who the big seven are, but you could probably deduce maybe from Harty, you're probably talking about Thurles CBS, Nina CBS, Templemore, Clonmel, Cashel, maybe the Abbey. They haven't, but that I suppose the big schools, the schools that probably provide the core of our lads that play at the highest level of schools hurling, that they will get an extra bit of development to help to aid their progression. So just all those little things they're just great to see that it's just not, and getting them down to Thurles of a Saturday morning for camps. Even this year they've moved away from getting everybody to Thurles for their development squads. Now they have 3 regional hubs in Roscrea, Thurles and Care, and I think there's going to be a 4th one coming on stream in Clonmel. Probably, I think they're hoping to get that one underway. That you don't have to, like, it's a lot of pressure on a player and a parent to get to Thurles maybe a Tuesday night and a Saturday morning, whereas instead, if you're North Tipperary, you just make the short hop to Sturgeon College and you do it there. Like, it just takes the pressure off. Just even come back to the Setanta thing, like, we won 2 All-Irelands in the last 3 years at minor level. Like, Setanta thing really only started 2 years ago. So you think next year's under-16s will be the first year of the Setanta? You think the next 2 years we should get a full benefit of that Setanta thing when it gets to the final of its 4-year thing? Like, we did ask them about what happens after under-17, and I suppose that's the thing with Tipperary, is that how do we continue what we're doing at minor up to under-20 and senior? And look, they more or less said under-20s and senior under-20 management's hurling and football, they organise their own S&C coach, and look, you probably understand that in some ways. You like to allow them the flexibility there, but I suppose from that point of view is that they will have all the data from, just say if you're a 14-year-old and you go through to 17 where they're hurling and football, if you step onto an under-20 panel, even if you're outside of the development squad system, all the data from the previous 4 years will be available to the next S&C coach. So, like, it's building and building the whole time.
Paul, how much of the conversation went towards what Shane has referred to there, bringing players through from underage to senior? Because, like, you know, that seems to be where Tipperary, S&C wise, like, how much of it was S&C wise, how much of it was coaching, and how much was bridging the gap from underage to senior intercounty level?
Yeah, like the presentation going through is kind of up to under 17 and under 19, and kind of that was the glaring question, was how do we bridge that gap from underage to senior? And basically we were told that, like, that's planned, like, on getting some things going for that, and maybe having kind of some sort of system where you can keep a couple of players or 10 15 players in the squad, or under the watch of the senior management team for a year. That, you know, you're looking at the 22 23-year-olds kind of bracket. So I think when it comes to things like that, like, you'd love to just have a senior development squad, whatever, but, like, you know, there's financial constraints on these sorts of things as well, so you have to keep that in mind. But overall, like, I was impressed with, as Shane was saying, the kind of joint up thinking, like, you know, and even things like the club fixtures, like on Tuesday nights it's under 13, so there's no under 15s, 17s or 19s on happening around the county, so that frees it up for the county development squads to have their night on a Tuesday, and just different things like that. And, you know, when the lads were going through it, it's like, geez, yeah, that makes sense. Like, why weren't we doing that years ago? But the fact we're doing it now, like, it, you know, it all starts to make sense. Yeah, like, you're always kind of wondering about, you know, anytime tip teams are bet, it's kind of like, oh, you know, we're not as athletic as the other teams, or we have the hurlers but we don't have the athletes, kind of thing. But I think that's probably going to be changing, just the way the Setanta partnership, and how kind of I was impressed by how advanced it is. Like, you know, there's systems in place there that they can see that if a player is had played too much, or, you know, is involved with too many teams, especially, you know, school lads could be involved with under 15, 17, a couple of school teams as well, and the county teams as well, so that they could be burnt out, but they have it in their systems that will come up, that, okay, this player is at risk, and they've told us about examples of where they've had to message parents or whatever and say, look, we're leave your young lad off from us for 5 or 6 weeks.
Just, I might just carry on that. Like, sort of was more or less revealed that I suppose Ewan Murray, like, and I suppose Ewan is under 16. He's still under, and there's still under 16 sort of tournaments going on at the moment. And we were told that our Ewan's sort of, what's this? Is it this rigged system, or what's the name of it? Rigged system. And more or less about a week after the All-Ireland final, they rang Ewan's parent and father, and more or less said, we're standing Ewan down for a while. because his RIP system was saying he was heading towards burnout. And he'll still play with Durlas Oak but that he doesn't need the development squad system for a few weeks, that's and seemingly it was the father was surprised to get that phone call, and just that proactive nature. They say, okay, this guy is a baby, we did too much, we got to mind him, and he's had a fair campaign at underage. Just that was really, really good to know that, I think, we left the meeting wondering, Tipperary they're doing an awful lot right. And even go far as Setanta is a world-renowned coaching thing. This is not just because it's based in Thurles. Tipperary's lead, I suppose, I assume maybe there's other counties who use Setanta, but Tipperary's lead contact in Setanta is Ian Jones. Ian Jones is the S&C coach for the Cork Senior Hurlers. So you can just see that we're getting the best of the best for our young lads going forward.
Okay, well, look, really good insights on that one. Paul, thanks very much for joining us. Maybe a final word. How do you think Cork Clare will go on Sunday?
I think it's going to be a really good game, real exciting game. I'm kind of hoping just for the kind of fairy tale ending for Patrick Horgan, maybe that they get over the line. But expecting a really close, exciting game, and I'm looking forward to it. And just before I go as well, if you'd want to watch a game during the week, watch back the West final. That was a brilliant game between Cashel and Éire Óg Ana Carty there over the weekend. And Derek Kelly, he hadn't actually really crossed my radar before for Éire Óg Ana Carty, corner forward. I think he's only about 19. Scored 1-8 from play. He was unbelievable. So if you're bored and looking for a bit of entertainment during the week, watch back the West final there. It was a great game. Okay, well look, thanks very much, Paul. We'll chat to you again soon. Spot on, lads. So before we go and talk a little bit more about the All-Ireland final, the Tip junior team, they're playing in the Premier Junior final against Armagh this weekend. Again, Armagh, it's in Ashburn at 4 o'clock on Saturday. I suppose that the first of the semi-finals were involved in. I suppose the Tip lost the final last year to Clare, so look, they're almost back to where they wanted to be. And it's a tough semi-final for them. Okay, they beat Armagh 12-1-4 in the Rag a couple of weeks ago in the group stage, but this is for neutral venue time. It's a semi-final. There's a bit of extra pressure. Armagh had a good quarter-final win, I think, over Roscommon, who I think they ran Tip very close, I think, in the semi-final last year. So, but I think Tip would be, look, just the way Tipperary Camogie is going at the moment, it would probably be a surprise if Tipperary didn't get the win, and I suppose get the juniors into an All-Ireland, and then all the focus turns to Saturday week and the senior semi-final down at Kilkenny. And just to say, anybody who's watching, some great packages for both games, junior and senior, if you want to try and get into both, and particularly for clubs for the senior semi-final, particularly for Mogi clubs, can get buses down there. Because if you look at Tip, Galway, Cork and Dublin, it's Tipperary really should have the biggest support of the four that weekend. It would be I thought last year when Tip played Waterford in the semi-final, Waterford had a huge support there that day, and I just thought maybe down the close instead that was a big help to them, and maybe that could be our 16th person or 16th man or person that it could be the one to maybe get us over the line. That goal we get, that's a toss-up game as I can see it at the moment. Okay, and then just Cork versus Clare this weekend. I'm just expecting it to be mayhem, really. Yeah, I do think Clare's best chance to winning is if it's a bit of a mayhem sort of a game. I think if it's a bit too structured, I think it falls into Cork's wheelhouse. It's a weird one. For every second day, I'm sort of leaning one way or the other. You think Clare have had Cork's number the last few years, and it's been a little. But even though they've been tight, it's been 1 or 2 point games, and including this year down in Páirc Uí Chaoimh, but then you're thinking yourself, Cork are a different team since they played in Páirc Uí Chaoimh about 2 months ago. They're confident, their belief is there now, and that's why I'm sort of leaning on them at the moment. But and plus the fact we haven't seen Clare at their best probably since that game. But I think if Clare bring their A game, I think their A game is still
slightly better than Cork. So that's all we're looking for at this stage. And how many times we've seen it over years, a team does the heavy lifting and taking out the big dog like Cork does, and then the other team comes in and wins it. So maybe they don't go on and finish the job. So like at the moment, I'm leaning towards Cork, but Jesus, it's beautifully poised, isn't it?
Oh yeah, like there's so many brilliant players on both teams, and like go back to the meeting that they had in Munster, and sure, end of the game, Damien Cahalane had a goal attempt inside. He was certainly inside the 21, maybe even inside the 14, and Mark Rogers blocked it. You know, so that was a team with 14 men that could have nearly stolen that game from Clare. And Sean
O'Donnell, it was a game Eibhear Quilligan had made some brilliant saves in too, even though like I was just looking at like how much better Brian Hayes and Alan Connolly are now, and like the belief they have, and like Jesus, like Brian Hayes is an awful matchup for Adam Hogan or Rory Hayes. Like you put Conor Cleary on him, but Conor Cleary probably needs to go on Connolly. So it's it's just the fact for me that Cork are a different animal since they played about 2 months ago.
Yeah, but like John Conlon, brilliant and all as he is, if he's matched up on Shane Barrett and he gets run at, he's going to have problems there. Like everyone has problems when Shane Barrett runs at them. Certainly, if you're 35, you're going to have problems with him. Rob Downey's really settling at centre back there has been so big for Cork, and Kieran Joyce obviously has a load of steel as well.
Skipping in the middle of the field, like you're.
I'd be worried though if I was Cork in terms of like the same issue that was, you know, dogging him throughout the semi-finals, which was Mark Coleman, who's a brilliant ball player and all that. But under the puck out, Limerick went after him from the start and all the way until the end, and they got a lot of mileage from different players in the air against him. So yeah, if you're to go back to the Munster round robin game, Tim O'Mahony, he matched up with Peter Duggan that day and spoiled him at times, but still had problems with him. Like everyone's going to have problems with him in the air. And you've David Fitzgerald on the other side. So I think either way, Cork are going to have a real issue there, and they might end up like we weren't really expecting Tim O'Mahony to go midfield the last day. Well, now they might say, well, Coleman, now you're going midfield because the matchups, you know, in the air for the puckouts, they just don't work for us here. So I'm very interested to see how that goes.
Yeah, like we know a lot of the vast majority of the Cork players are playing to a very high level at the moment. What would you say with Clare? Davy Fitz, Tony Kelly. We haven't seen them fire lately, but we know if they do fire, they're match winners. And I think that's can they get the Davy Fitzgerald that was brilliant towards the end of the league and the start of the championship? He got taken off against Kilkenny. I can't see Ryan Taylor starting because you probably end up have to take him off in the middle of the second half. So can they get O'Donnell? Like I think, can Clare get their stars to fire as well as the Cork players have been playing in the last? Okay, take out the Dublin and Offaly match, the 2 games against Limerick, the match against Tip. Can they get their star men to play to their very, very best? I think that's the big question for Clare this weekend. Was they haven't quiet, but if O'Donnell, Kelly, and Fitzgerald, a few more of them fire, this is going to be. And you have to think this is probably, I wouldn't say it's it for Clare, but there's more pressure on them to win now because just a lot of their stars are, I wouldn't say coming to the end, but there are a lot of miles on the clock. While take out Harnedy and Patrick Horgan, the likelihood is some of these Cork lads are probably going to have a couple of more years maybe to try and win that All-Ireland. So pressure's probably slightly on Clare maybe to get it done this weekend.
They've played 61 times in the championship, 5 draws. So from the other 56 games, what do you think the split is in terms of wins?
Probably about 45-10 or something, is it?
40-16. So like history would suggest Cork would get it done. And obviously we all know the All-Ireland final back in 2013 certainly didn't go their way. Yeah. But like going back to the replay in 2013, it's 5-5 since in the 10 games that they've played. So it's I think it, like when I say chaos, I'm like I don't think we'll be able to tell at any point who's really going to win this game. It'll get to the last couple of minutes. It'll be a puck of a ball one way or the other. I don't think anyone can absolutely.
And I suppose I suppose the first 10 minutes will probably determine it. It's what way will Johnny Murphy ref it? Will he let it go, or will he just try to stamp his authority, maybe just blow for technical fouls? And look, the trend has been in All Irelands the last few years is that it's the last game of the year. The referee doesn't have to. There's no big match to keep the adjudicators happy. Like in bar, you have to deal with a bad bout of indiscipline. You're going to try and let the game go as much as possible. And I think, like, I would have thought Johnny Murphy was a bit whistle happy for years. I think this year he's not as whistle happy in terms of little niggles of pushing in the back and stuff like that. He has let it go, and like he did get an awful lot of criticism for, was it the Dublin Galway League game with the red cards and yellows, but he was proven justified in terms of in the aftermath. Like the offences were red card offences, like so. Look, I think if, as we've seen, Cork at the moment for me, I don't know what you're thinking, but like, so I could wake up tomorrow morning and I could be in Clare's camp. It's that one. It's that kind of a one.
Yeah, at the moment I'm in the Cork camp as well, just because like what you were saying about those Clare players, some of the key men, the talent that's there, but are they always delivering this year? Are they on form? I mean, so I just don't know. But certainly a brilliant final to look forward to, and I can't wait for it. Shane, we'll do it again next week. Chat to you then.
Yeah, talk to you.